If you're in this room, you should be in for do's and don'ts of board game design. If you're not supposed to be here for that, sorry.
You're stuck with us.
Yep.
Lock the doors.
I'm Kenneth Justiniano. I'm the moderator. I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm 55-year-old Hispanic male that has been playing board games and creating games since I was 10 years old. I have played in almost every RPG system that's out there. Played most board games like that we all grew up on. All from Parcheesi to Monopoly to Risk, which is one of the first strategy games I grew up on. To the culmination of me creating my own role-playing system, which is called Simplicity. If you want to play it, I'll be running a game in Boundary Waters C at 10 o'clock tonight.
All right, my name is Martin. I'm a board game designer. I've got mostly abstract strategy games, but I do like a lot of your standard Euro stuff as well. I think I started designing when I was probably a teenager, and my first published design was in the Terrace Times. So Terrace is this board game that was featured on Star Trek The Next Generation, and a buddy and I just played it a lot, and we subscribed to this Terrace Times, which was just a newsletter they would send you, and they had like a little section at the back for basically modifications, different rules and stuff. So I think I was like 16 and we had some games published in the Terrace Times. And then I didn't really do any more game design until I was like 25. But I've had one game published with Adam's Apple Games, and I also do video game stuff. So.
I'm Philip. I'm a game designer at Fantasy Flight Games. I mostly do stuff with big, heavy narratives and lots of moving parts.
I'm Brandy, she, they. Not only am I a board game enthusiast, I've played tested several different games, most commercially successful of which was Distilled. I run a board game community of over 1,000 people, actually over 1,100 people now. I am a board game podcaster, and for 2 years I have taught middle schoolers how to make a board game.
Awesome.
I'm Nate. I'm the hack among us. I'm just a dude who started doing this some weekend. So I'm here for all of you. But long story short, it literally came to me in a dream that I could make my own. In the dream, the rules of the game were your pets were trying to contact you from the other side after the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. I thought, yeah, that's a fun way to depress everybody. No one would buy that game, but then I said, well, wait a minute, who said I can't just make one? And so I did, and it was god awful. But it got me the process to start doing it, and I played it with some friends, and one of them said, "Oh, I played worse stuff than this at CONvergence." I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, there's a whole floor of gaming, and people go there, and people have brought way worse stuff than this. You should take this and see what other people think about it." So I've been coming here for 3 years, playtesting all of my stuff, and I finally put that first game to rest. It's dead to me now. But I've got 2 others here this weekend, so if you want to play test some of mine, you can find me afterward and I'll show you where and when we're playing those. But I'm here to prove that just regular people can make games and have fun, even if we don't have big board game designers behind us.
Awesome.
All right. I'm the moderator. This is how I'm going to be running it. I'm going to start off by asking a question, allowing the panelists to answer it. If you've got comments or want to add in, raise your hand. There should be pieces of paper.
They're all stacked.
Okay. If you would please come and grab one, it makes it easier for us to call out who the person is that we want to get, to ask the question. Being able to say green square, orange square, or they have different designs on them too, like the pound sign, yellow, orange, whatever. It makes it easier for us, and makes it easier for us to not
Calling you out by your costume name.
Yeah.
And then getting it wrong.
Yeah.
If you've ever called a Mac McFeagle a Smurf.
So the idea being, we want to bring the audience into the conversation as quickly as possible. I like, when I do these kind of panels, I like to keep our conversation going both ways. So hopefully it'll be enjoyable. So okay, the first big one. Is it okay to steal?
Can I start?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. So if anyone hasn't seen it, I highly recommend Everything is a Remix. So I think it's like everythingisaRemix.com, but it's on YouTube. Just search for Everything is a Remix. It's like an hour and a half. It's split into 3 pieces, so it's like a 3-part documentary style movie about how literally there is no such thing as stealing. Every idea comes from something else. Every idea. And so all of our experiences leading up to this moment are actually influencing our brains. And so every idea that you would have is actually the culmination of all those experiences. And if you look sort of historically, like no one is creating in a vacuum. Everything comes from something else. So actually he breaks down kind of at the end, like there's 3 different kinds of creativity. And I think the first one is like combination, like combining 2 things. Oh no, maybe the first one is like modifying. So you take something that you like and you modify it. And actually this is like really common with games, right? Like you have some idea and you're like, I think that this game would be better if I did it this way, or if we played this way. House rules, right? So house rules is a modification. And then combining is like taking 2 games that you like and you're like, how can I play both of these together? Actually, I've been really into chess variants lately, and which is 100% this idea. I actually have rules now for how to play Go and chess together, which are 2 of my favorite games.
All right.
And then I think the third one is like, I can't remember the third kind of creativity. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think basically you can't avoid stealing, right? Like everything is stealing. So that's my take.
And specifically when it comes to board game design, with a few exceptions, generally speaking, you can't trademark or copyright a game mechanic. So you can borrow other game mechanics. You can't like outright just take Catan and make it your own. But you could take the idea of rolling a die and getting resources from it, and then turn that into what you want to do.
I think intentionality is a big part of it. Instead of just lifting a mechanic because you like it in a game, why is it right for your game? Why is it right for the story you're trying to tell with your mechanics? And if it makes sense for your game to take Catan's resource model, do it, if it makes sense.
And there's a difference too between reskinning a game and changing a game. Reskinning leaves all of the rules in place. You just put different, I'm going to make this cats instead of underwater, or whatever you want to do. That gets a little closer to stealing. But if you can change enough to make it your own and make the rules fit your wonderful, amazing cat theme, then yeah, go that direction. Start with that as a base and then push far enough away from it with your own ideas, and you won't be accused of stealing, at least.
I'm going to interject here real quick. So, fun story. My favorite thing is when 2 games are named similarly, they're made by the same people, and you think that they're both going to play similarly, like In the Footsteps of Darwin and In the Footsteps of Marie Curie. You would think in The Footsteps of Darwin, you're going around collecting animals. It's a nice little puzzly game. And in The Story of Marie Curie, made by the same people, the whole thing, totally different gameplay, totally different vibe and feel to the game. Mm-hmm. And that's so, I mean, they try to like up themselves with keeping it in the same vein with the name, and then it's nothing like, yeah.
Expectations, managing expectations.
Yeah, 100%.
Your question.
My question. Well, so I guess my question for the other panelists is, what are some don'ts? What shouldn't we be doing in game design?
Stealing.
We have to think about
Done. Next.
Don't spend a lot of money. I've known people that will, from the very jump, are spending thousands of dollars on, working with graphic artists and with writers for story, and trying to get that next big hit. I'm like, go as simple as possible, cut up a bunch of cards, create tokens, make it as simple as possible when you start, because you're going to have to rework it 100 times before you actually are happy with it, before you're happy to put it in front of other people, at which point they'll tell you how much it sucks, and you got to keep reworking it.
Yeah. I guess my it's a very broad topic. There's lots of things to not do. I guess I'll say, don't conflate mechanical balance with a game that feels balanced.
Mm-hmm.
If you use a spreadsheet to make sure everything is super balanced and totally mathematically fair, and then you put it in front of a player and they say, but it feels like he has so much more going on than I do, you didn't balance your game. The math checks out, but the feels don't. And the feels are way more powerful.
My biggest don't would be to don't feel bad if the game doesn't work. Don't feel bad if the game doesn't make it far in the playtesting process. Don't feel bad if you have to make a lot of changes during that process, because it's a process and it's different for everybody, it's different for every game. And even though thousands of games get published every year, there's still thousands others out there that we never hear about because they make it to the editing room floor.
My two are similar, but first let me ask the question, how many of you here are thinking of making your own game right now? Okay, a couple. So here are my two pieces of advice. Don't go it alone, and don't wait for it to be perfect before you show it to someone. Show someone the hot mess that's in your head on notebook paper and a pen, and draw it out in horrible block things, and play it badly with somebody, let it fail miserably, and then you know what spots to fix.
Editing is so much easier than fighting.
Yeah.
A bad game is better than no game.
Get something down. Yeah, it's the old phrase, done is better than good. Get something down on paper, find a friend and say, this is probably really gonna suck, but let's play it and find out where it sucks and we'll fix it. And so many people who are trying to make their own just want it perfect in their head before you show anybody, because you don't want that rejection. Write it down, let it suck, let it be terrible, because then you can fix it and show it to somebody else. Make them play it with you.
Build a tribe. Find your tribe. Find your people, because they're going to be important to you to getting that, item up. When I created Simplicity, the amount of time that I spent trying to get a system that took one character from another system and would be able to bring it into mine. I spent almost 6 months trying to find the mechanic to, give me a D&D character in my game, give me a GURPS character in my game, give me a werewolf character in my game. And a friend of mine just at one point just looked at me and goes, why? And he's like, screw them. If they want to bring their character into your game, make it easy. But at the same time, don't spend all that time trying to make it, fit that other system, because it's not going to be. And then we spent time focusing on what we wanted to do fun in this new system.
Why is such an amazingly overlooked question. The number of times you get so far in a process and then somebody says, okay, but why are you doing that? I don't know, I just started doing it and then I didn't stop.
And there's so many times we'll go to conventions like this and you're playing it. I don't understand why this rule is there. Oh, that's from an earlier version because well, it doesn't do any good now. And most things are there because people don't want to get rid of that one idea that really worked for the alpha beta version of their game. But right now we're on the omega version. It's not necessary anymore. Sometimes you have to let some of your babies go. You have to murder some of your babies.
So a great question to piggyback off of this is, how do you find your tribe? How do you find the people that can help you with your first steps of development? Well, if you have friends that are gamers, this is a great place to start. I think a next step out from there would be to see if you have a local board game group. I know the St. Paul board game group is pretty extensive. You can talk to them, see if they would maybe invite you to be a featured creator, and maybe they can guarantee you a table full of playtesters. I know I've done that with my game group at home, helping local developers there. Or there's Essenspiel here. I don't know what they call it, if it's Twin Cities or Minneapolis. I think it might move around, but that's an entire convention solely dedicated. Well, it's like a day-long convention or two.
You mean Protospiel?
Protospiel, yeah, sorry. It's been a long day.
It isn't.
Yeah, sorry, no, Protospiel, I'm sorry. But that's a really great way to also get your game in front of a lot of people who are absolutely willing to help you iron out all of those wrinkles you might find.
There's a great convention called CONvergence too that people go to. I mean, seriously, this is where I started. I started playtesting my games here. And that's an entire room full of people who are game for everything. So let them play. Martin and I can speak to Protospiel because we go every year. There's two of them every year, in fact. One in January and one in May. They go under the names Protospiel Twin Cities and Protospiel Minnesota. It's the same, different people technically run them, but the same people go to them. And it's an entire convention of other designers. And you just go and you show somebody yours, and then they'll show you theirs, and you just sit and you get great feedback from people who know what they're doing and know what they look for. The one downside to that is that everybody there looks at it with a designer's eye. I can bring my game to Protospiel and people get very picky and technical about this, and this. Yeah, and otherwise I didn't like your game. Come here, and then you just get people who like to play games, and they love it. And my games are all theater-based because my life before this was I spent a lot of time in the theater. And so all of my games are theater related, so I meet some theater fans out here, and they go, oh yes, I want to absolutely play it, I want to play it, this is the best game ever. It's like, this is the terrible one, but if you like it, that's awesome. So you get different crowds at these different places, and they're all valid in their own way.
No, and that's another thing that you really need to, that's another thing that we really need to remember is that not every game hits with everybody. Or, not even one game hits with everybody. If you can find one person that likes their game, that's a win, and take it. The amount of guys that I know that had successful games because they didn't make $1 million, they're like, oh no, my game just didn't do good. It's like, dude, it's being played by 100,000 people. Where is that a fail? But they're not willing to take it.
There's the old adage, I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's 9th favorite thing.
Mm-hmm. And I'd rather be the 100.
Yeah.
My game is free to download, the manual for it is free to download. I've been playing it here for 15 years now. So it's been in I want to say the third iteration of the manual has been the last one. And that's what I've used here at Con for the last 10 years. And I run it for little kids, anywhere from 7 to 12. And then my adult games are anyone 13 and over can sit at my table. And we've had as many as like 25 people around the table playing. We broke it down into 3 smaller tables and had different things going on at the same time, but it was all concurrent and it all came back together again. but it's one of those things that it's like, it can be a rowdy, raucous time where people walk away with, a good time. And to me, that's a successful game.
I once had middle schoolers chanting during my game when someone was about to make a big roll and they were all just chanting, fix it, fix it, fix it. And it's like, you can't top that, even just as a regular player.
No, as a game developer, at least for me, I live for those moments.
Yeah. I played one where somebody gave his character a catchphrase. This is just a regular board game, not a role-playing game. It's a regular board game move. And every time he fixed it right, he would just like, Steve! Okay, and then everyone around the table started chanting their own name, and when it didn't work, they would all start chanting Steve when they would get one right. And it was like, all right, you guys have fun. You're having way more fun than I intended with this, but hey, it's just a heartwarming to watch.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing like having people play your game.
Yeah.
I think it's just an incredible feeling. Just back to the finding your people thing a little bit, just to recap that or to cap that off. Yeah, there's 2 Protospiels a year here if you're local. There's also a really nice group that playtests twice a month at the Source. And they call it like Design Day. You can look at the Source's calendar and find them, and it's either Saturday or Sunday afternoons. And you just show up, you got a game or not, and you can sit down and play test with everybody. And then the third thing I'll plug, I used to run our local chapter of the International Game Developers Association, which is mostly about video games, but I would say maybe 10 to 20% about board games. And while I was running it, it was more like 50%. But there's a fair amount of board game stuff. And they have meetings every week. So there's, I think, one week they have a playtest specific event, and they welcome board games at that event like every month. So, and there's also the organization that runs CONvergence has events as well, and I'm forgetting what it's called.
Geek Partnership Society?
Geek Partnership Society, yeah.
On the vein of resources, look to your local community colleges. Most local community colleges have a design program in there. So you're going to have art majors, you're going to have design majors, you're going to have marketing majors. All these kids will love an opportunity to work on something. You give them ideas, they will pump out product. And in many instances, I hate this mentality for free. Because I'm sorry, if anybody creates anything for you, you need to give them either credit or you need to give them money. And I really hope you give them money.
Or both, pay them.
I am my own graphic artist, and it's not because I'm stingy. In most instances, getting this stuff out of my head and onto paper is the only way that I can move the project along. But in that same vein, I will take what I created if I know it's not good enough, and I will take it to someone else to polish it off. Because I'll be honest, I want my stuff to look good. But it's one of those things. It's finding resources can be almost anywhere. So don't forget, go to high schools, talk to art teachers there. Most high schools and most colleges have a local gamers group. And their teachers and they themselves would love to meet somebody who's making a game.
And I made people mad at my technology and tabletop gaming panel yesterday, but AI isn't free. It's trained on data that was stolen. Please. Even if it's for personal use or for sparking ideas or things, that AI model was almost certainly trained on data that was collected unethically.
And if you don't think people won't notice that, they absolutely do. My favorite is when like a Kickstarter launches and they have placeholder art and it's almost always AI, and people just tear the game to shreds without even giving it a shred of a doubt. And I'm not saying that that's not necessarily a bad thing to keep somebody accountable, but like they can't even like get to see the game before they just judge it so harshly. So AI seems easy to do, don't do it.
It's unethical and also self-defeating because people will
Not pay attention.
will flag it, and you won't get any honest feedback on the rest of your stuff.
Yeah.
And not you to mention the environmental concerns.
And especially, and to go the other opposite way, Fiverr, please stay away. The aspect of paying $5 for a piece of art, I don't care who it is, that's just so demeaning to the artist. There are a lot of online communities where you can meet artists from across the world that will, give their freaking, hind teeth to be able to work on a project with anyone, anywhere across the world, to get their artwork into something. I've worked with a lot of people from South America to do artwork for isolated panels for a game. And we paid them, we were paying like $40, $50 per image that they were creating. And to them, that was rent. So, it's one of those things. You don't have to be spending tons of money, but be honest with what you're doing and what you're creating, and work with people who have skills and talents and pay them for it.
I will say, I think this is maybe a difference between board games and RPGs, but in the board game world, when you're designing a game, you're not typically publishing it yourself. So you really shouldn't be commissioning artwork at all. Like your game should look like, scribbled, like somebody scribbled it. You should make your art, if there's art at all on it.
The phrase I've heard is, you should have a polished prototype. But no finished art. But anything, even just like Microsoft Word to make your play mats, that's totally fine to come here and have your friends play it.
There's a company, I think it's called like Print2. They have a series of like hexagonal pieces, just paper pieces, and they'll sell you like 100 of them for like $2.
You get blank playing cards.
Yeah, they're just blank cards, and you can get blank playing cards and standardized cards. And what I do is I buy a bunch of these things, and that's where I start my drawing. It's like, okay, I need a map, and I'm going to do a world map for this particular adventure. I need 13 of the interlocking hex pieces, and I just start drawing my map. And I'm able to then go, okay, this piece I'm going to use as a repeater piece, and we can, use it for, expanding the map left and right, whatever. This one is going to have water, fine tune it, and whatnot. And then once you've got the artwork actually done, you can actually resubmit it to them, and they'll print it on cardboard.
There's another place out of Madison called The Game Crafter as well, gamecrafter.com, where you can just order individual pieces how you want them to look. They are very expensive to make one set, but if you're at that stage where you want to show it to professionals, call a game crafter, text them, email them, they'll show you how to run through their design software. I need meeples shaped like goats. Great, when do you need them? Okay. So they can do some weirdo custom pieces, especially if you find a friend who has a 3D printer. That's where I got all the pieces for my game. I just got a friend who said, I got 3D printer, I want to make stuff. Do you need anything for your game? It's like, well, I need this. Great, let me design. And it's like, you come back, how these look? It's like, okay, great, all right, I'll buy you supper, let's go, let me buy you some filament for that. And he just wants to, so if you have friends with 3D printers, a lot of times they want to make cool stuff for you. So ask them and then pay them as well.
90% of the people I know with 3D printers bought it with all these ideas, and then as soon as they had it, ran out of ideas. Yeah. So they would love to be prompted to make things.
To that note, maker societies. You got a lot of people in there that are willing to oh, you got a project, and it's like, okay, I want to create a board game, and I want it to stack so that I can have pieces underneath it that I can pull out and add to. And dude's like, dude, I have a CNC lathe, a laser CNC lathe. I can build that for you in 2 weeks. I'm like, let's talk. And it's one of those things. It's like going out into your community, finding where these come out. Let's be honest. They're geeks and nerds. There are people, and they may be in a different vein. They're woodworkers. They're artists. They're graphic designers. But they're nerds like us.
No, I find it's the opposite. I find they're dentists and lawyers and who need an outlet to do other things.
I'm sitting here going, so what's the next question?
That's why you don't get the moderator. Go to the audience.
So, question from yeah.
Do you have any resources for making puzzles? Like, I wouldn't even know how to make a puzzle, but if I want it as part of a game.
Do you mean like a jigsaw cut?
No, just
or
like
just designing a logic puzzle, or what do you mean by?
More like logic puzzles.
You see, when I'm using logic puzzles for like an adventure, like an RPG, I go to standards, or I should say, I go to the old ones. The knot, labyrinths, that kind of thing, where I can go to the library and just find references for that. Google ancient Greek labyrinths, and you can get representational images for it, if that's what you're looking for.
I would also put out there, so I recently went back to school to finally get all that tied up for myself in the last 2 years, and there are entire college courses designated just about game design, like entire textbooks about game design. So you can go online and search for board game textbooks, and they talk about all the puzzles. They talk about, they get into the really deep parts of like game theory, but they'll talk about probability. They'll talk about statistics. They'll talk about how fairness and balance out, and they'll teach you about all the puzzles there. And most of the time now with things like digital media and things like interlibrary loans, you can pretty much get your hands on almost any of those textbooks one way or another.
Iowa State now has a major in board game design. So you can find out what books are required for that college class, those college classes. Find those books.
So I had mentioned earlier that I was a playtester for Distilled, and it was actually made by a professor at UW Stout, and he teaches game design classes. It was started mostly in the video game part, but now he does a little bit more with the board game stuff, and there's a ton of information out there on an academic level, so definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, UW Stout has a whole program in game design.
It's great.
And they start out with their students teaching, like building a board game. Like the first year is a board game, and then they move into video game design. I have a couple book recommendations, but maybe ask me after, because I would have to pull them up. But I'm very interested in that topic as well. And I would highly recommend finding the Discord for Thinky Games. So there's this Thinky Games, I think it's just thinkygames.com. And it's mostly about video games, but it's puzzle video games specifically. And so there's there's two kind of side-by-side communities. One of people creating these Thinky games, and the other one of people that are just fans and playing them. And it's really event, it's a circle with a lot of overlap. But that community is really into the idea of creating puzzles. I mean, it is the most in-depth that I've seen. And it really depends on what kind of puzzle you're trying to make too. I mean, it is very hard to create a new kind of puzzle. Like, right, that's what everybody wants to do, I think, or at least that's what I would love to do. But it's much easier to say like, oh, I'm going to create a Sudoku puzzle that is very intentional, that I like want people to move through. There's like kind of a methodology for doing that, and you can kind of take that methodology and apply it to other types of puzzles as well. Another orange?
Yeah, I was kind of, I've seen quite a few board games that take like video games and turn them into board games. And one thing I was curious about is there do's or don'ts of when translating video game design to board game design? And yeah.
My biggest kind of don't on there is don't try to copy the game exactly. Try to copy what the game feels like. Fantasy Flight's XCOM board game, for example, doesn't try to model the tactical combat of moving your guys around and hiding behind cover, because there's no universe where that is approachable in a tabletop game but has the same depth players expect from doing it in the video game. So it just picked its battles. It focused on the global overview part of XCOM to get the feeling of the game without trying to copy exactly what the game does. Like if you try to make a Skyrim board game, I realize Chip Theory is down in the dealer's room with their Elder Scrolls game. I'm not trying to like point anything specific at that. You're not going to copy everything you can do in Skyrim. So you want to hit the feeling of how it feels to play Skyrim and capture that instead.
Or take what you like about that video game and take the video game's name off of it.
Well, that helps too.
Well, what I'm saying, and then make it about an ice cream parlor, or or whatever it is, where you shoot at each other. But make it the way I like to tell people and say, what I need an idea for a game. What I like to tell them is, take a game mechanic that you like. Do you like worker placement? Do you like probability? Do you like area control? Then take a subject completely unrelated to board games that you do like. This is what I do with the theater. I love the theater. I love worker placement games. So how do I combine those two to make a worker placement about the theater? So take what you like about this video game and what do you like about it. Then find another completely unrelated topic that you personally like and are invested in, and then how do you get this to fit that other thing, and that may be the way to solve your problem.
Metcalf was crazy mashups.
Yeah.
There are things that you think don't go well together that once, it kind of tickles your mind, it's like, ooh, that actually went rather well. I look back at when people were doing the mashups for music. It's like you take a country western song and a rap song and mix them together, and it's like, wow, it actually worked. When we look at games, the aspect of taking a game that is a video game and then trying to make a tabletop version of it, it's don't ever go to try and capture that same feel. You need to figure out what it is about that game that you find interesting, and then try to portray that in what you're trying to create.
Navi over there just reminded me. Like if you wanted to make a Legend of Zelda game, you could focus on the overworld exploration of exploring the map and doing all that stuff, or you could focus on the dungeon crawl. It might be too much to try to do both in the same game, so pick the feeling that you want to.
Or focus on just making an ocarina of your own. Seriously, the company that made Distilled just announced their new game, Luthier, in which you make violins. That's the game, making violins. And it's a wonderful, engaging, challenging game about something you would think is boring as hell.
Well,
no shame on the Luthiers in the audience.
Oh, I love the game. It's a great game.
How do you go about identifying mechanics that fit the theme that you're shooting for? Because lots of different mechanics might work, but how do you know then they might work all well, even, right? But how do you know which one is the right one?
Test groups.
Play test.
I guess the first question you actually want to ask yourself is if you're trying to make a themed game or if you're trying to make an abstract game. Because a lot of times you don't need to have a theme to have a successful game, but you can have a successful game if you have a theme and mechanics that make sense together. Like going back to distilled here, because we're just going to stick with that. In that game, you are essentially running a distillery, like you're making alcohol. Dave took a sabbatical from the U and he went over to Scotland for like 6 months, and he hung out in distilleries the entire time, and he learned how the process worked. So all of that is reflected in the things that you do in the game. You do it with a purpose because he learned how the process worked in real life, and because he did that, everything that you do in that game makes sense. Like there's a purpose and you can see how the process unfolds because he figured out what the process was in real life.
There are two broad approaches we'll often refer to in design, top-down and bottom-up. It is kind of what you start with. I think it's might be a Mark Rosewater word from Magic the Gathering. Top-down is you start with the name of the thing and the theming and what you want it to be like. And bottom-up is you start with the mechanics and figure out from there what you want to call this thing.
I would say if you have that question right now, start with the mechanic you personally like to play the most. And then, if there's another mechanic that you think might also work, make a new game with that theme. Like I said, I've got 5 games. 4 of them are theater-based because I wanted a worker placement theater game, and then I wanted a dice rolling probability theater game. They don't work in the same one, so I made a separate game. And I've got one that's more like Pandemic, where it's basically area control of things that are going wrong in your theater. And so you can find you can use a different mechanic to fit the themes. So start with the one you like best, and if there's enough left over, make a new one.
But like what you were saying before about Legend of Zelda, where you've got the 2 versions that you can create both.
Yeah.
You don't have to make one game.
Create both. They don't have to be in the same game.
I will say, like, this is kind of what's hard about game design. You know, like you get to a point where like anything could work, right? Like you can make a game that does anything, and so like how do you pick which thing, you know, and what thing to do? And like I think like you make both is one answer, but also just make one. Like, you know, just make something and play it.
You ask 5 people, you'll get 7 answers.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I think we said earlier, like, there's the, oh shoot, now I'm forgetting the phrase, but something that's the enemy of good, right? Like, you'd rather be done than, you know, keep iterating on it forever. And you can easily keep iterating on it forever. So, yeah, there's no, like, magic answer.
I don't think. The specific answer to the way you asked that question, how do you figure out which mechanics? I think I would lean towards try something. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, try something else.
And it's not to say that you can't try a different mechanic with that system. You know, it's one of those things that's like, once you set up one that you do like, you can still go back.
I will say also that, you know, it's really hard to make a short game. It's really easy to make a long game. And so the less is more, right? Like if you can aim for a 20-minute game and end up with a 45-minute game, you did a good job. Right?
Oh no, we have 2 yellow tickets. Let's do the one on that side first, because it went up first.
What are your opinions about using digital tools like Tabletop Playground?
Love it. Sometimes people are just digitally inclined. So a couple weeks ago is when I taught the last version of this game for the kids of how to make a board game. And most of the time our rule is you don't have your phone out, you're working on your stuff. I went over to one young man and he was very deeply into his phone, so I thought he was definitely not focusing. Turns out he was on Canva the whole time, designing cards and his board and all of the things from his phone on Canva. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it can be way easy to rapid prototype something digitally if you're not printing out all the cards and then cutting them. Can take forever.
Or are you thinking Tabletop Simulator?
Yeah, well, Playground is another one, but yeah, Simulator as well is out
Yeah,
there.
those are all great.
Yeah.
I will encourage you to make a physical version first and to play test it, and then do the work, because I do think it's more work to get it on those platforms.
Being a man of a certain age, having to learn new technologies or something like that. I'm still on Microsoft Word, and I found out from the 8th graders that I play with that, what, old man? Microsoft never heard of it? They'd never heard of Microsoft Word. It's like, oh my God, okay. So.
The other thing I'll say is that when you get to the point with your game where you want to pitch it to publishers, more and more publishers, especially since the pandemic, really want that either tabletop simulator or one of the digital platforms. Like they'll play test with you online, and they'll prefer it because they just don't want to deal with your prototype anymore. Like it used to be that you would send a prototype to the publisher, and like 6 months later you'd hear back from them and they'd say, we don't want it. Do you want it back? And now that iteration cycle is much faster, in that they can say, oh yeah, can we play it next Thursday on Tabletop Simulator or whatever.
The other really great thing about putting it in a digital kind of format is that you can have a wider variety of audience. It's not going to be your game group. It's not going to be the same people you see every week at the library. It's going to be people from all over the place that are going to have different experiences and can maybe give you different feedback that you haven't gotten before.
And I can assure you, no one's going to steal your stuff. That's the other fear, that people don't want to put their game out yet when it's not ready because someone might take my great idea. No one's going to.
A slight cautionary corollary
Ooh.
to the you can get it to people outside your community. If they've misunderstood something in your rules, you might not always know that they're playing it differently than you intended. So it's important to ask a lot of follow-up questions, especially if you're getting like something whiffy in their playtest reports. Or your game sucks. You don't have to discard a card to do that, right? And like leading questions to try to get them to confirm that they are in fact understanding your rules the way you thought you wrote them.
And
rules
did
are hard,
accidentally
man.
play it on hard mode the entire time?
Rules are so hard. That first moment when you hand off the rule book and say, you teach yourself the game. Is
the best advice I ever got, make your rule book last. That should be the last thing you do when all the rules are in place. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep changing and keep changing and keep changing.
From some advice from somebody that I used to do this for the military. One of my jobs was working as the military grunt with new equipment and working with civilians on writing the manuals. So we were giving the input on how the stuff was working. When you're getting to the point where you want to do your manual, work with your players. Ask for their input. What should we be doing now? What should we be doing next? They will tell you everything that you're going to be needing and what you're missing. Because you get caught in tunnel vision about what your rules should be. Mm-hmm. And then letting them, I don't even, I got to the point where it's like, I don't even write my rule book. I sit down with a group of like 6 people and we start playtesting. We go from a position of, okay, this is what I think the rules should be, and we'll start playing the game. And I'll take notes, start taking notes.
One thing, if you can swing it, teach the game to somebody and then watch them teach to somebody else. Will help you find so many things you may have missed and forgotten to put in your rules. Or you'll be convinced, well, obviously I put in a part of the rules about when you draw your hand of cards. I gotta put that in there. Not that I've done that personally.
And this is further on down the line too, but there is an art to how to teach a game. And you are gonna have to teach it to a lot of people, so figure out how you're going to teach that game. I've gone to so many proto-spiels where people will just start telling you all the strategies you're going to want to know, and you don't want to do that yet because you got to do this. Well, you can do this, I suppose, but there's that card that tells you can't do that. Don't get into the minutia. So this is probably further down the line than anyone would be, but if you're going to teach someone how to play a game, I always say first, tell me the object of the game, then tell me what a turn looks like, then you can dive into the minutia of the rules. But start with that first. Here's an overview of the game. You have one sentence of what the game is about. What's the object? What does a turn look like? Then go into the specific rules.
I would also recommend, if you have a chance, do include a player aid, even if it's just a reminder in like chronological order of the things people do on their turn. If you use a lot of icons on your games, write that shit down.
They maybe have a legend.
Honestly.
Especially budgets being what they are, it might be hard to swing it. But a copy for each player.
Yes.
Not I don't know how this card works. Can I see the rule book? Now I've told everyone secret information in my hand because I had to look up a thing.
Was there another? I think there was another question at the same time. Yes.
I've noticed that cooperative games are less common, in the game store than the competitive ones. Is there a reason for that? Are they like newer?
They're harder
is there
to
less
balance.
market? They're just harder.
They're very hard to balance to make it challenging, yet give everyone something to do.
And also to scale to different player counts.
Yeah.
That's very hard with a co-op.
Yeah.
Co-op games have traditionally not been something that we wanted in the marketplace. We have traditionally wanted people to prove that they're the best. So we wanted to be competitive. It's like D&D, the competitiveness in that is against the monsters. You know, you're killing, you're taking head count.
I mean, historically, cooperative games are a pretty new phenomenon, right? Like, there's like, the concept of play obviously is as old as people, but just a game that you buy and there isn't a single winner is like a new...
Yeah, nearly all of the games I design are cooperative, and there's always someone who's trying to argue that it's not really a game. Which is a whole other question that you could have a 3-hour panel on and never get an answer to, so let's not really get into it. It can be weird about co-op.
The terrible game that I've mentioned several times that failed miserably, co-op. There's a box you can buy called the White Box that's kind of a starter deck and gives you some base pieces like that. First rule, he says, don't start with a co-op game. So I did.
If you don't know the White Box, it is a really terrific resource if you're trying to start prototyping games. It's just a box of components.
Yeah, and essays, much like the stuff we're sharing with you now.
Yeah. I think we're done. We got 5 minutes left. Wrap-ups?
Rapid fire question. The one thing, me personally as a player, I hate games that start you with an entire backstory of lore that you have to learn in order to play this game. Just start simple. Start simple, especially players who have never played your system before. Start simple. And find themes that are not done. I am so played out on space, fantasy, and war. The best war game I played at Protospiel was a snowball fight themed. They got all of the fighting, dueling mechanics, 1 versus 1, and they made it snowballs, and that was brand new, and I loved it for that reason. Find something unique.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from all of the things I've done with trying to figure out how to make a game, do what you want first, and then figure out what you need to fix about it later.
Yeah, I guess kind of adjacent to that, but I don't think quite exactly what you're saying. Design a game you want to play, because there's other people who want to play the same thing you do. You're not.
And you are going to have to play it a lot as you're designing it, so make it something that's fun for you.
Yeah, that's always been my philosophy too. I mean, it is not a very commercially successful philosophy, but just make the game that you want to play. And I think, if there are you have to find people that are as much like you, as you can, and then play with them. I did make a little list of don'ts, and we've touched on a lot of them, but can I just, I'll wrap
throw them out there.
Yeah, don't think your game will just work without playing it. Play test your game, obviously.
And similarly, don't think it'll suck either. Believe in your game.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Don't self-publish your first game. Don't.
We could do an entire panel just on Kickstarter and whether or not you should do Kickstarter. There are pros and cons.
Don't just play your own games. Play as many other games as you can, especially games that are like the one that you're trying to design. I think that's really important. There are some designers that I've met who don't want to play games that are like their game because it'll influence them. And I think
and
that's...
they don't want to show it.
I think that's a mistake.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Personally. And don't be afraid to show your game to people. We've touched on this for sure. And then don't worry too much about someone stealing your idea, which is kind of just a corollary to that. I mean, instead worry that no one will care. And then don't design a role in movie.
I'd add, don't take it personally if people don't like the game.
Yep. My
Roll
last,
dice, move people.
I'm going to be the last
Boring.
comment. Because right now we're...
Just do it.
My last comment is, don't do it alone. Always find a group of people to help you do it. It's a lot more fun when you've got friends to come along with you, and you will actually finish the job if other people are there pushing you along and saying, hey, what, aren't we almost, like 90% done? Let's get the last 10%.
Somebody enforcing that deadline is a huge help for me, at least.
Yeah.
I've made friends at one of the Protospiel conferences, and now we hang and don't play games. You meet people, you make friends, you have fun.
But what else do you do?
We talk about making games.
Why?
Why?
You had a last question.
It was just repeating the last rolling statement.
Okay. So, thank you for showing up. We really appreciate it. And I will call this done.
And if anybody wants to see one of my terrible games in action, I'm doing a play test at 8:30. I still have some open spots if you want to see what one looks like in progress. It ain't perfect, but it's good, so come play it.
Also, one quick last plug. We do have independent game creators down in the dealer's room. They're open tomorrow and Sunday, so go check them out.